Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this second day of September 2024. We are concluding on the conversation about the education sector, and we want to listen to the leaders of KUPPET on what they said yesterday in as far as the situation of the teacher strike is concerned. Watch.
Jericho High School in September 1994, where I have served to date. From September 1994, we cannot talk of any promotion because by then NAT was agitating for teachers' welfare, and when money was availed, we were given mass promotions. So in 2002, we were given mass promotions from Job Group K to Job Group L.
I started working in the year 2002, September. The last interview I did was this year, which was done in February. And when the results were out, I found that I had not been promoted.
We have teachers who have stagnated in this other job group, which is C4 for 15 years, that is M. We have those ones who are in D1 for the last 9 years, that is N. So the case of stagnation of teachers is all over, and it is one of the greatest demotivators in work.
That the schools are not running and they are not going to run.
Yes.
KUPPET power. For the next 1 week.
Yes.
Even beyond.
Yes.
The teachers this time have vowed to stay at home.
Yes.
All right, at the start there, our teachers, Thomas Kamau and Lawrence Maraganga, talking about their story in the service for over 30 years, actually 34 years, and the other one talking about more than 20 years since employment and the frustration that has been in terms of rising up the rank. It talks about, Teacher Thomas talks about a mass promotion in 2002 from Job Group K to L, but nothing much has happened since that time. And I want us to close on this issue because, again, we're very good at problematizing issues, looking at what the problem is, but finding solutions becomes very difficult. Let's take a closing remarks on this topic, starting with you, Senator Lekina, because the complaint about the Teachers Service Commission being too wide, it needs to be devolved. Never mind, there's currently a structure that goes, I think, up to sub-county level. Then again, Teachers Service Commission would require more resources above the 358 billion shillings to effect some of these promotions. The executive talks about strained resources. So where do we go?
It's quite simple. I think you've alluded to it. You know, there's an idiom that says form follows functions. You say that there are structures all the way to the county levels, but are resources all the way to the county levels? Are they being controlled by one super teacher, you know, who has got all the, you know, the goodies to be able to stop any actions being taken against her? You know, if you go through the internet, you'll find that ever since 2009, even before, I mean, when I really started taking interest in these issues of teachers, is that the then TSC commissioner, I think his name was Ibrahim, you know, Ibrahim Hussein, who was the chair. He kept on talking about the challenges in corruption. So if this service is so corrupt, the first thing we need to do is to be serious about solving those corruption issues. The best we can actually do for our teachers is to devolve every functions. And I was asking my brother Mbui and my other colleague here that it's about time that we really now take this matter seriously. I will pick up the fight in the Senate. They have to pick up the fight in the National Assembly. We have to summon Nancy. We have to figure out, now apart from just summoning, we sit down in the education committees and find a way to solve this problem once and for all. We are having a very difficult time explaining to young kids, children, that teachers are not going to school because they have taken a break to fight for what they believe is, you know, are better things for the students. We cannot continue trying to sugarcoat the strike. We have to deal with it. And the only way to deal with it is now that we are hitting the reboot in our system, we not only do it by talking, but we go into legislation. Okay. We look at legislation, we see where there are gaps, we look at the issues of insurance, because that is one thing that must be looked at, because it benefits. We look at the issue of the benefits of the teachers, fully defined. And finally, I hope that all of us will be able to push to devolving these teacher services to the county levels and setting up school districts, giving them powers so that Kopet, NAT can actually be able to have good negotiating tables. They can actually be able to narrow down the strikes, make sure that it is only a school district which has the policies and the solutions to solving the problem of that school district.
All right. Interesting. Mheshimiwa Ruku, way forward.
Some corruption at TSC stinks to high heavens, whether it is promotion of teachers and many other issues. I think radical restructuring of Teacher Service Commission is what is required.
How it happens?
Sorry?
Do you have details of how it happens?
We as my colleague said, we will need to either amend the law, the Teacher Service. It's called the Teacher Service.
No, I'm saying.
Yes.
You just said that the corruption at TSC stinks to high heavens.
Yes.
Do you have details of how that happens?
Yes, I do have details. I know. I have my classmates who used to be in school, in high school, who are teachers today. They have gone through difficult situation for them to be promoted. And they have bribed several times for them to go to the next job group. It's a painful situation. We have seen the two gentlemen there.
Sorry, Mheshimiwa, who do they bribe? Sub-county,
they are
county,
cartels.
national level?
They are cartels who don't work with the Teacher Service Commission. They have agents who collect money on behalf of people in the Teacher Service Commission. And that money is delivered to whoever, I don't know who, for the person to be promoted.
They are local level, or they are the county, or is it regional, or is it the national level?
They are agents. They are people in this town.
Running a national network.
You know, you go and have a discussion with them. You give them money. They take money to I don't know who, and you get your job, your promotion.
Your friends have been promoted in such a manner.
I have my friends who we were in high school together, who are teachers, who they can't be promoted, who they have, gone for interviews again and again. And the only time they were lucky to get promoted is once, when they were able to give out some money. So TSC is extremely corrupt.
How much are you talking about? What range of risk?
By then, we were talking about 70. At the moment, I hear is about 150,000. For you to get to any job group, any promotion.
And
it is painful to say some of these things.
Knowing that you sit in Parliament and there's something you can do about it, how have you helped your friends?
That's what I said. Some last year, I came up with a motion which we discussed some of these things in Parliament. We resolved quite a number of things. Some of those things are not being implemented by the Minister of Education as well as by the Teacher Service Commission. And it is very painful, and it's a pity that the People's Representative House can pass resolutions which are binding, and then it takes ages for those resolutions to be implemented by the implementing agencies. One of the implementing agencies is the Minister of Education, and the other one is this independent commission, which is Teacher Service Commission. Remember, it's an independent constitutional office.
Sure.
So the fact of the matter, the truth, and it's painful because we are supporting Kenya Kwanza government. We have a minister in charge of Minister of Education under the Kenya Kwanza government. The truth of the matter, a lot of work needs to be done. Radical surgery is required at Teacher Service Commission. Corruption is too much. The poor teacher from remote places of this country cannot go to the next job group because they are deep in the villages. They don't come from any well-connected, or they can't be able to talk to their member of parliament or whoever can be able to influence their way to the Teacher Service Commission. They will remain and stagnate in the same job group because all these promotions are sold.
Okay.
And we have cases. We don't live in in isolation. We live in this society. We have brothers and sisters and friends who are teachers. Yes.
Very serious claims that you present here, and also receiving messages indicating that there are situations such as this experience across different parts of the country, and one teacher agreeing that actually that range of between 70,000 and 150,000 is quite on point. But Mheshimiwa Mbui, then, do you know, because there's a crisis at the moment, Mheshimiwa Sosoni is calling for a return to work formula, but these systemic challenges, how do they get resolved, knowing that the Commission is protected by the Constitution? It has its independence.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. First, I want to agree with my colleagues and what teachers are saying, that the issue of staff stagnating in one position for years, 15 years and above, is really unacceptable, and that demotivates them. Not to forget that, as you've said, the issue of corruption in TSC is so rampant. For a teacher even to get transferred, even on medical grounds, they probably have to, oil someone to be able to get that transfer. We have teachers, I have teachers in my constituency that had fallen out completely with the parents, and you can tell that for education to take place, there needs to be a positive relationship. So you advise the Teacher Service Commission to transfer them to another school where they don't have a bad history, and bring another teacher, and they would drag their feet, and sometimes when you see people drag their feet, it obviously means that they want some motivation. And this goes all the way even up to the issue of recruitment. You saw recently where the former CS under this Kenya Kwanza administration. Sorry?
What do you mean, motivation?
They need to be bribed. That is a motivating factor. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. They need to be given something in order to carry out their jobs. Recently, you saw even in the recruitment of teachers, the former CS under this administration was going to the villages, and in funerals he was recruiting teachers. Apparently, I understand that now seems to be the way by which they are silencing their critics. If you make a lot of noise, you're given a few employment letters to go and recruit teachers. The recruitment of teachers is also part of the corruption, scandal within TSC. When teachers are recruited at State House and at the DP's office, that doesn't make sense. And that's what was happening. Members of Parliament aligned to the Kenya Kwanza administration are given 10 letters, 15 letters, 20 letters.
Sorry, hiring of teachers was happening at State House?
Sorry, yes, the letters for teachers' recruitment, majority of them were given to the leaders of Kenya Kwanza. And it went all the way down to the PSAs. I'm telling you, Sam, this is a scandal of the highest, of the highest order. Because teachers are not being recruited by TSC through an advertisement and merit. It is now a matter of who knows who. Kenya has been, we've been better off. We were better off maybe when we are getting independence than we are now when it comes to teacher recruitment. But the solutions are there. First and foremost, one of the things that I heard the leader of Kupet say is that even the little increase that they are getting financially doesn't get them out of the waters because of the excessive taxation. So maybe that's why one of the things that the regime needs to understand, that when they eroded Kenyans' earning power by excessive taxation, the increase in NHIF, increase in NSSF, increase in the introduction of this new housing levy. All these eroded everyone's income, and therefore teachers are also affected. That's why the little increase doesn't even get them out of the water, and that's one of the problems. But then I want to advise TSC that for them to succeed, let them use Parliament. Parliament is a House of Representatives. If they have any regulations that they've come up with on how to manage recruitment, promotions, and all that, let them bring them to the House through the Committee of Delegated Legislation. Those regulations will be looked at, and they can be passed. And for them to do that, they must go through obvious public participation, so that teachers give their opinion, parents give their opinions, learners give their opinions, and so that by the time we get there, we have something that is workable.
You know what is frustrating that you raised there, Mheshimiwa Mbui, is that someone will go to school to study, to become a teacher, qualify, get registered with the Teacher Service Commission, teach a few private institutions, volunteer at certain institutions, but then we'll have to know someone to be issued with a letter of recruitment despite applying for, despite honoring the invitation for applications. I mean, that's just quite something, and I don't know if teachers are watching, they can share with us their feedback
some of the realities,
and their experiences, yes.
Some of the realities are the last recruitment that was done was never done as it should regionally, and there was no regional balance. It was just those people that were able to access the powers that
You're
be.
Talking of the more than 50,000.
They were being recruited through letters being given to individuals. Members of parliament were given letters to recruit teachers. I mean, in fact, I will tell you that my own teachers from my constituency were looking for me to ask me to recruit them into TSC, and I told them, no, that's not my responsibility. But unfortunately, that responsibility has been given in the hands or has been given to politicians.
So how did teachers get employed in Kathiani? The member of parliament was not available.
The member of parliament is in Azimio, so the letters were given to people in other constituencies that are aligned. That is what happened. I mean, when you see a CS giving 20 letters in a funeral, you cannot tell me that that is balanced. And PS is giving letters to people in their villages. That is what has been happening. It's something that must be put a stop. Not one, not two. Almost all PSs and CSs were given recruitment letters for Teacher Service Commission.
Interesting. Teachers, if you're watching, send us your views at Citizen TV Kenya at some Gituku. The hashtag to use is Citizen Daybreak. We'll read a bit of your feedback later on. But first, Mheshimiwa Sosion, please take us to the next level on how then we put all this to rest. And
I think from the comments of my colleagues, it's a very grave issue. In fact, the situation at TSC is a situation where angels would weep because of the magnitude of corruption. And this requires a forensic audit. A forensic audit by the Auditor General, that must be done. It doesn't mean that being a constitutional and independent commission, it is independent to commit crimes against the citizens, violate laws. Forensic audit from the DCI, forensic audit from EACC. And this may necessitate sending of the commissioners and chair home and the CEO so that this forensic audit can be done. If we are serious about regaining our lost glory of being the topmost education in a country in delivery of quality education. And these are the areas where forensic audit must be done. How teachers have been employed for the last 5 years. We've seen, we no longer see competitive advertisements in the newspapers for recruitment. Yet teachers are employed. And we know for you to be employed as a P1 teacher, you must pay 350,000 shillings. And some of these employment letters are sold through government officers. To be employed as a graduate is 500,000 shillings. And to be promoted is 150,000 shillings. Where will a poor teacher get money to do that? So one, forensic audit on how teachers have been employed at the Teacher Service Commission for the last 5 years. A forensic audit on how teachers have been promoted for the last 5 years. A forensic audit on the financial system and transactions, particularly remittances of third parties, where TSC gets kickbacks. If you don't get kickbacks, then your checkoff is put off or your remittances are discontinued. And then lastly, a forensic audit on policies that are unconstitutional and illegal. And I don't think Parliament is right to call for laws to amend. Let us first of all deal with corruption at TSC, clean it up. Once it is clean, then we can begin with developing legislation. Kenya is on the decline, and I repeat, these are indicators, Sami. And maybe all the media needs to open up and look at it. 10 years ago, we were #1 in global competitiveness in delivery of quality of education in Africa and access. But now we are at #7 because when corruption took off, that is when Nancy Macharia took over TSC, she is the queen of corruption. That's a fact. That's a fact, everybody knows. And I'm willing to be a witness in all these forensic processes. As an insider who has worked within this space, and I'm not being personal.
It is fair. No. Sorry, Mheshimiwa Sosion, let me just say this. It is not fair for you to accuse a person of corruption.
I'm saying so. It's a fact it is happening. Don't defend.
Those are your views.
Don't. Those are my views.
Not of citizens.
I'm ready to defend, whether it's in a court of law or anywhere. Because this is a fact. This is a very serious matter. We are talking about destruction of lives of children of this country. And this is vested in an individual who does that. That's a fact for sure. That's a fact. So when you look at teachers crying and are on strike and are raising issues, it's like we are not listening. And the whole issue boils down to corruption and how they are managed. Then I think we have a bigger problem. Let's do a forensic audit. Let us restructure TSC. Let us have teachers well managed. Let us regain our glory in the delivery of quality of education in this country. There is no shortcut about it.
Okay.
And those in those offices bear responsibility. And they are known by names.
I hear you, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, they are known by names.
And
they
I have
bear
to say
responsibility.
here that the claims you have laid here, you've not backed them. It's an allegation.
No, they're not allegations. They're evidence. Everyone,
What is the
talks
evidence
about it.
Mheshimiwa Sossion?
We are flashed even in these media houses. Employment letters being flashed and released out there.
So what I'm asking is, how does that relate to the person of the
I am
chief
sure you are
executive
not a
officer?
prosecutor. These are facts.
I am not.
Proceed
but
and
those
investigate.
allegations live on Citizen.
You call us to this show to speak.
I am asking
and
you a
I've spoken.
question. It's very simple. If you do not have the evidence, you can take back your words. If you have it, you can lay it.
There is evidence. There is evidence. Organize a process where I need to table those evidence, and I will.
Again, those are your views. Let's take a look at the feedback that has come at Citizen TV Kenya. Tangituku, the hashtag to use is Citizen Daybreak on what Kenyans are saying. This morning, this is Franco Rinde. You're saying that TSC should stop the arrogance and bravado instead and find a way of negotiating with the teachers to resolve their grievances. During the COVID-19 period, teachers signed a non-monetary CBO, a show of goodwill. It's now time for TSC government to give back to the teaching fraternity. Bob Otieno is saying that government should come up with a quick solution to fix the crisis in the education sector. We are in a crucial time. Our learners are just about a few months away to do the examinations. The final examination. So Nixon Dugure is saying that I do not think the government's priorities are right by placing the teachers' requirements way down the list, ignoring the fact that it's about to create a whole new class of children who could end up with shattered dreams. Masinde, you're saying that the sad truth is that politicians infiltrated TSC and the recruitment process. Nowadays, TSC does not advertise for replacement of teachers who retire or die. The few chances that arise are given to the highest bidder. Sad. And, of course,
you can see evidence
there's
from
a story here. Just a moment, Mheshimiwa Sossion. There's a story
you can see
here.
evidence from the field.
Yes, that talks about... Mheshimiwa Sossion.
It's evidence all over the place.
Yeah, there's a story I was looking at here that talks about a member of parliament in Western Kenya who was talking about part of his achievements, including issuing some 50 letters of employment to...
That's another evidence. You really need me to give evidence.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, I think the problem I have with what you said is that you alluded it to be in a particular person.
Yeah, the person, the CEO of an organization is responsible for employment of every individual to that organization, personal responsibility. That's why you're the chief executive.
Okay.
Responsible for promotion, responsible for everything.
All right.
That's a fact.
So
but you can see from the field what is coming
let's
out.
make progress, and that is in regards to what has just happened last week in the rallies, or is it the meetings of the president within Nyanza region, Migori, Kisumu, Homa Bay, entire counties. And the president yesterday was speaking. We'll be listening to his voice, him saying that indeed they have become brothers. Former political nemesis have become brothers and sisters. We'll talk about the political miracle of President William Ruto was talking about. Let's listen to it now.
The people who were on extreme sides a few months ago, today we are speaking as though we are very long time brothers and sisters and friends. That is the beauty of our country. That when circumstances demand, we close ranks as a people, we forge alliances as a people, we build bridges as Kenyans, and we work together for the greater good of our nation. I know some people, ask questions. What happens to us? Those of us in Bungoma who voted overwhelmingly for this administration. This country, God designed it in a way that all of us can belong. And whatever is in Kenya, if we work together, we can bake a bigger cake that all of us can be satisfied. Those who want to preach to us sectarian, ethnic, parochial, regional politics will not succeed in this country.
I was with you in Nyanza, Your Excellency. The excitement that we saw in Nyanza, our people in Western, tujipange pia. Lazima tujipange. Politics is about competition.
All right, so that was the president and, of course, the governor of Bungoma speaking thereafter in as far as the trip to Nyanza is concerned. Mheshimiwa Mbui, I'll begin with you on this one because the president is talking about the miracle of building bridges, and that reminds me of what happened after the March 2018 handshake that ended up birthing a Building Bridges initiative. I'm just wondering how the president is now able to use the same words. Why do politicians take Kenyans for a ride?
I think some that's a very, very loaded question, and maybe you need to ask those particular politicians that keep taking Kenyans for a ride, starting with His Excellency the President, who after election said that he wants a strong opposition, and that was not said once or twice. He continuously repeated that he wants a strong opposition so that we can keep him on check, so that he can be able to deliver for Kenyans, so that he cannot sweep the dirt under the rug. But what he has done consistently is directly the opposite. He started by procuring, and I use that word carefully, members from the Azimio coalition. He started immediately after the election. In fact, we came in as a majority and immediately were confined to the minority because of the members that had to jump to his side. And he has continued that onslaught up to now. His intention was to destroy Azimio. And I can tell you, there are people who think he has succeeded, but I don't think he has. But I know he's not pulling any stops. He intends to make sure that all Kenyans that are in political space are aligned to his cause. And he's doing this purely for the future election, not because of the interest of Kenyans. So I think Kenyans need to be very careful and watch their leaders. And sometimes some of these things are historical. I mean, it happens every so often. And let me tell you, the kind of democracy we practice in Kenya is a joke. Because when we were elected, and I'll tell you this, Sam, when we went to the last election, we in Azimio wanted to form government. And it isn't wrong to not form government, because if there are two warring factions or competing forces, one will win, the other one will not. And we also must realize that the Constitution confined us now to the minority because of what happened immediately after the election. But then we also have to understand there is also a mandate in the minority. And that is why even if you look at the standing orders, the Constitution, it recognizes the offices within the minority side. And that is why you have things like the oversight committees. All of them have an advantage of one. Despite the minority being less in the House, they are always given an advantage of one extra member in the committees of oversight. That is PIC, that is PAC, that is Implementation Committee, all those committees that do oversight of the executive, to give them an advantage, to give them a chance to be able to oversee what the executive is doing. Now, when the executive buys members from the minority, then it means that the government members of the ruling coalition and the members of the minority coalition will all be working together. And then now the question begs, who speaks on behalf of Kenyans? That is a quagmire we are in. That is a mess that we are in as a country. And I wish my colleagues who seem to be leaning towards the executive would understand their role, which is in the Constitution. Because spending weekends dancing in jigs in the villages with the president and and shouting helter-skelter that, that now we are all, when you are not in government, the government is bad. When you are in government, the government is good. And I ask myself, so who's going to speak for that Kenyan who is in Nyanza, whose child cannot go to university because they were placed in the wrong band? They cannot afford fees because the money being given through bursary is not enough. Whose child is sick and they cannot afford medical care. Those are the things we should be asking the executive to do and preparing ourselves so that if we get into that position, then we can provide solution. I think we are headed completely in the opposite direction of where we should be as a country. Many years after independence, I thought now Kenya would have provided free education, free healthcare, but we are still politicking. You finish an election and you start campaigns for the next one. And now I'm asking myself, if the president is looking for re-election, what happens if he was, God forbid, was to win the next election? When now he would not be looking for another election. When would he ever work?
Well, let's listen to what he said in as far as uniting with Raila Odinga for the benefit of the country.
Vile tulikubaliana na baba, tulifanya makosa ama ni sawa? Ni sawa ama si sawa? Tuendelee ama tusiendelee? Tuendelee ama tusiendelee? Tuendelee kuunganisha Kenya? Siasa ya kutengana, jameni, hiyo siasa tuwache nyuma, tuungane, tuwe kitu kimoja.
Rais wa 4 Uhuru Kenyatta alikuwa ametuambia baba ni mtu mzuri, tukabishana na yeye. Huyu rais wetu amekuja amesema baba ni mtu mzuri. Sasa marais wawili wakisema baba ni mzuri, mimi naweza kupinga? Naweza kupinga? Hata mimi nasema baba ako sawa.
Senator Ledama, what is that?
Good Lord. It is nailing the gullibility of the Kenyan citizens. We are so gullible. We are easily tricked, easily deceived to believe. It is like we are all bipolar, to tell you the truth. Today we wake up, we are protesting, we are demanding for changes, we are demanding for reboot. Tomorrow, this very intelligent man, let me call him today a very intelligent man. William Ruto is an intelligent person. You know, he scouts around, he scans the horizon, he looks at it, and then he says, voila, found it. He goes into Parliament, he goes into the archives of Parliament, he looks at the legislation process, how things have come to be up to this particular step, and say, voila, here it is. And then he brings in the people who are responsible for the entire debt crisis that we have in this country into this table and say, you fix it now. You know? And I'll be talking about this more often. Even you should make sure you pick my column over on Wednesday to be able to see the details of what I'm talking about. It is absolutely ludicrous. And I think Kenyans must wake up. Kenyans must realize that sherehe will not help us. Kenyans must realize that launching of programs will not help us. We should be celebrating success. You know, a project should never be launched. A project should actually be opened, you know, once it's completed. You know, and I think it is about time that we really ask ourselves, you know, whether all the money that we immense, you know, running around and celebrating that now we're in government and we're doing all these things, will be able to help us, or will we go with it when we die? We will not. We need to be able to look at the problem. That people, I don't blame my brothers and sisters in Nyanza. I don't blame them because they strongly believe that finally they'll get services, you know. But I think on a very serious note, we need to change the trajectory. You know, this country is bleeding. The Gen Zs were, you know, up in arms. They talked about the seriousness. What we should be thinking about now is not hovering around the entire nation to try and have homecomings. You know, I completely detest them. What we should be doing is sitting down. My brother Mbadi, what he should be doing is sitting down in Treasury and saying, where did the rain start hitting us? How do we fix this mess? Because we have a mess. You know, teachers, here the teachers are striking. Doctors, we just went through a whole process where doctors were striking. You know, are we definitely going to continue beating the same drums? No. Enough is enough.
Yet your party is involved in this.
Listen, I was elected by the people of Narok to represent them. I'm very happy to have been elected under the ODM ticket, and I support ODM. And ODM as a party does not have an agreement with KK. It does not have an agreement. I said here before, we have a few of our brothers who were recruited to work with the president. It is in their own prerogative to be able to go and work there, but it's not ODM party. You know, the other thing also, we have to be very clear on, because people talk about opposition. Parliament must do its work as a oversight of the executive. But when we are, you know, when I had my brother, when I couldn't wait for this opportunity for me to rebut. When he says KK ODM administration, where on earth did you see that? Seriously, you know. So some, you know, I completely detest. That's the truth. I completely detest the trajectory that we are on. I completely wish that. Let me finish. I completely wish that Kenyans out there will wake up. Will wake up and be able to resolve the problems themselves. And the only way they can resolve the problem by themselves is by beginning to tick the boxes. In fact, every Kenyan, if you don't have a notebook, write it on the wall of your house and say, we went to the streets because of A, B, C, and D. With the day 2027 when you're going to vote, remind yourself, look at your wall first, you know, or take all these newspapers. You know, when I was growing up, finally when we moved from a mud house into like a, you know, sort of like a wooden house, we used to plaster the newspaper all over for, you know, for comfort, so that the wind does not come in and make us sick. So I want to plead with Kenyans. The first one today is to take this one and then plaster it on the wall, and then remember in 2027 that for you to be able to have a better life, it must begin by you changing it, not by us leaders, because even us, we are so gullible now, we cannot be able to stand for the truth.
All right. Let's listen to what CS of Energy believes his mandate is.
We have not joined your cabinet halfway. We have joined it fully. And we commit to work with you to the fullest possible extent in the service of these people and all Kenyans.
Hata Yesu Kristo alianza Jerusalem ndio aende Judea. Kwa hivyo ukiunganisha stima Kenya, anza hapa Unguja na Siaya, alafu uende Kenya ingine.
All right, duly served. Mheshimiwa Ruku, what do you make of these events and those sentiments that are being laid by the leaders here? Because if Opiyo and I is to begin connecting the country to electricity from Ugunja, as he says, is that what CSs are supposed to be doing?
Absolutely not. Any cabinet secretary is a cabinet secretary of the Republic of Kenya. The needs of Unguja, the needs of Mandera, the needs of Bere are the needs of Kenyans. We have a big problem as far as electricity connectivity in rural areas is concerned. Water, our infrastructure in terms of road is a big concern. Whether it is water for drinking or irrigation, this is needed across the country. And every CS has a responsibility to tailor a project which cut across the nation. So I don't associate myself with the sentiment that a CS should be able to sit in his office, tailor a project which benefit his village or his constituency only. He should be able to sit in that office. It's a Kenya office, is peoples of Kenya office, tailor a project which cut across all the villages in the Republic of Kenya. I don't associate myself with that statement. But having said that, Sam, the truth of the matter is we have Kenya Kwanza ODM administration at the moment. I was in State House when Raila Odinga bid was being launched, and the people I saw in State House, almost 70% were ODM people. as in Kenya Kwanza administration, we were very few who were there.
And you believe in the candidature of Raila Odinga?
Absolutely. Raila Odinga is a giant in the continent. He's an African statesman. He's a man who is ready and fully equipped to come up with policies, in terms of ideas which can transform democracy in Africa, utilization of our natural resources properly as far as Africa is concerned, putting up those infrastructures in place. Raila Odinga is a giant in our continent. And we support him fully.
When did you realize this?
Sam.
But we're very happy. Let him continue. Please, don't stop him.
You see, Raila Odinga has not been cut for Kenya. He has never been cut for Kenya. He has always been cut to play for that law.
Really?
And we wish him the very best. We are going to give him every support he requires.
So Mheshimiwa Ruku,
yes.
Raila Odinga is the best for Africa.
Yes.
How about for Kenya?
For Kenya, it's for the Kenyans to decide. And Kenyans went to the ballot in August 2022 or 9th of August, and they decided that is not the best for Kenya. It's not me, it's Kenyans who decided. So, but as far as African Union bid, as far as African,
this is a Kenya Kwanza ODM administration.
It is.
What does that mean?
It means that the Kenyan government is run by both ODM and Kenya Kwanza people. And we have a CS who used to be vice chairman. Or is the vice chairman or chairman?
Chairman.
Chairman of ODM. We have CS Energy, who was the leader of minority in parliament, sponsored by ODM. Any person, you don't need to be a genius or rocket science to understand that this is Kenya Kwanza ODM administration.
That Kenyans care so much about who is leading them more than the service delivery.
Yes.
So how does that help service delivery?
And that's what I'm saying, Sam, in my statement, in responding to your question, that any CS, whether you come from ODM or you come from UD or any other party, and you are cabinet secretary, you should be able to come up with policies or plans, policies, program and projects which cut across the Republic of Kenya, which are tailor-made to offer services to the people of the Republic of Kenya.
That's one, Mheshimiwa Ruku. Let's listen to something else that happened in Homa Bay, the president and the deputy president who are there.
Homa Bay. Lakini sasa mimi nimesikia ati nyinyi mumeanza kuringa ati pesa ya Kenya inalala Homa Bay. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, si mimi wakati mmoja nilimsaidia baba? Yeye akinisaidia safari hii iko makosa jameni? Iko makosa? Ndio baba amenipatia huyu John Mbadi Ng'ong'o. Unajua mimi sikuwa nimejua siri ya kukaa na nyinyi. Sasa nimejua siri ya kukaa na nyinyi ni sisi kuwa watu ya baba. Sasa tuko pamoja. Tuko pamoja hadi Homa Bay.
You know, Mheshimiwa Sosion, it is interesting how eyes can actually open. Some call it the Damascus moment. What would you tell your fellow citizens as they watch this event?
It really is not Damascus moment. I've worked in a space where unity is a driving engine of people working together and tolerating one another. So the political metamorphosis that we are seeing in Kenya is more of unity. There's nothing so strange, and it's more of accommodating every other group. And when the president said, I want a broad-based government where I can accommodate the rest of Kenyans to help me deliver on what he promised Kenyans, I think he meant it. And when ODM forwarded the names of two party leaders, Wycliffe Oparanya and Hassan Joe, those are deputy party leaders of one of the oldest political parties in this country. And John Mbadi, the national chair, and Opiyo Wandayi, I think that was significant in itself. And that one, nobody should feel jilted about it. Why? There is pre-election provision in the Political Parties Act, pre-election agreement, which created Kenya Kwanza and which created Azimio. That happened. We know. We saw it. There is also post-election arrangement. Of course, in this one, no agreement has been signed, but of course, there are definitely significant engagements. And those engagements are normal, they're allowed, they're politically right. Away from this, from the appointment of these ministers, now you have seen the nomination of Raila Odinga to be the AU chair. And that AU chair is a very influential position because we are talking about strengthening infrastructure and connecting Africa. We are talking about free market continental trade area with one currency going into the future. We are talking about increasing the volumes of trade, intra-Africa trade. We are talking about opening up the continent, the borders of Africa, a borderless continent.
How would that benefit
Those
Kenya?
are pragmatic. It's going to benefit Kenya and benefit the country. The volume of trade, the movement of goods, the movement of persons.
It is
yes, it's very strategic.
To the office of the chairperson of AUC?
Yeah, of course, as a chair of AUC, you're able to influence the continent. It's for the good of the continent. And part of the beneficiaries of the continent is Kenya, and Kenya is making that contribution. And so, therefore, when you see the president releasing all the government infrastructure to support Raila Odinga to AU, that is a very serious undertaking. So then that means in this political space, instead of constricting ourselves and fighting within the country, it's good to expand the horizon, and we have all of us playing different roles in different positions. So really, politically speaking, the steps that have been taken by the president and Right Honorable Raila Odinga are significant, irreversible, and firm. And that is why when you see the president being received in Nyanza together with this team, and you can see it's all Kenyans speaking together in one voice. It's a beautiful thing. Why do we want to to divide a country and run it forever? We cannot even unite Africa if we are dividing ourselves here at home. We must unite at home so that we can unite the continent and achieve the agenda of the human race, of the people of Africa and the people of Kenya. I think we should look at it, the bigger picture, the philosophy, the bigger philosophy is more urgent, more important, and doesn't require much negotiation. It requires some bit of support.
Because you're talking about unity.
And therefore,
Mheshimiwa Sossion,
yes,
you're talking about unity. So explain to us how exactly that unity has been achieved.
How it has been achieved.
Yep.
If you have eyes, those who have eyes can see.
No, that's not an answer, Mheshimiwa Sossion.
And you have seen, no, let me tell you, but let me explain to you. You have seen the president after forming the broad-based government. He has been in Meru, he has been in Embu, he has been in Kirinyaga, he has been in Coast, he has been in Kisii, he has been in Nyanza, and you can see people talking. And this is in political organizing. That is what you call political organizing. You meet the people, talk with them, outline the agenda. In fact, outside the context of what you're talking about, there are political statements like when Rigathi says, hey, begin at home. That is a political statement. But then there are technical facts and of professional way of working in offices. When Wandai gets to the office, he will not be doing things for Unguja. He's doing things for Kenya. So I think Sami,
please explain. How does
we have seen.
Sorry, Mheshimiwa Sossion.
We have seen the reaction and the mood of the people towards the president all over the country. Very positive. And that means approval. It's approval.
Sorry, when people are happy with a politician in the president, the country is united.
Do you want to tell us that all those multitude, they woke up as madmen in the morning to meet the president? They were not. And they went to engage the president. The beginning is we are seeing an engagement here that is positive.
Let me just give you the context. Once upon a time, President Uhuru Kenyatta had a handshake with Raila Odinga, very well received in Nyanza region. William Ruto campaigned against exactly that and said that Raila Odinga came to destroy the government.
Don't try and convince. Don't try and postulate a script.
Let me just pose a question, then you can analyze. 6 years later, William Ruto is doing the same thing in Nyanza region, and you're saying that the multitude is happy with him. And I'm asking
Let me ask you.
If just a moment, if participants in a rally are happy with the president, does that constitute unity?
Let me ask you,
if it was unity under Uhuru Kenyatta...
Because we must isolate chaff from the wheat, right, and from the grains. How many ministers did Uhuru Kenyatta appoint to the government in that handshake? How many?
You tell me.
From Nyanza? None. How many PSs? None. That's a fact for sure. If you are bringing people to government, appoint their people. And that's what William Ruto has done. That's the difference.
There was chief administrative
secretaries. Chief administrative secretaries. How many? How many ministries? When did Luo Nyanza really talk of having a minister for finance, a minister for energy? Yes, of course. There is nothing for us without us.
Okay.
If we are not in that space, then we can't be part of it. And that's what the president said, broad-based to accommodate the entire Kenyans. And look at what the president has done to campaign for Raila Odinga to be chair of AU Commission. That's a very, very significant step. And therefore, all these actions by the president will serve to accommodate people in government. And of course, a people united will contribute positively to the development of the country.
That question of AU again.
The country cannot develop instantly.
Let's make progress.
When unity begins.
I'm asking
when
you,
unity begins, that is when the process of development commences.
Do you know how much it's costing to campaign for Raila Odinga for the AUC? How much is it costing the taxpayer?
Even if it costs $1 trillion, it's worth Africa. It is invaluable.
Can you afford $1 trillion, really?
Why are you so negative? I'm saying even
negative?
I'm talking about hypothetically.
You don't like the question?
We don't want to spend to have Raila as chair.
I'm asking you how much.
We don't want to spend.
Don't you think taxpayers?
I don't have the budget in that space, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is campaigning, and I think Kenyan government deploying its resources to have Raila is right.
You do not know. We'll find out. Let's listen to something else that has been simmering in the Mount Kenya region between the Deputy President and the Leader of Majority in the National Assembly.
I want to ask our young leaders to be measured when they speak about their community wakiwa nje kwa wageni. Hata kama iko shida nyumbani, hiyo ni mambo ya kupeleka nje. Hata kama mamako ako na macho moja na umeenda ugenini umepata msichana mrembo, you don't go to talk ill of your mother to please the mother of the girl you want to marry.
Usikubali kiongozi yeyote wakati wewe unaongea mambo ya umoja wananchi wa Kenya, mwingine aongee mambo ya kutenganisha wananchi wa Kenya. Usikubali. Na usikubali kuuziwa uoga ya kuwa kuna kiongozi mwenye anaweza mobilize eneo moja ama nyingine ataitenge na Wakenya wengine.
Please be like other communities. I've never heard watu ya huko duo wakitukana Raila. Not a single one. Sijasikia Mkale jina hata moja akitukana William Ruto. Sijasikia Mkamba hata moja akitukana Kalonzo. Hapa kwetu tu ndio watu wanadanganywa kutukana viongozi wao.
All right, Mheshimiwa Ruku, you have the final word. What exactly is going on there? There's been...
How come you have decided to jump me severally?
No, you are fast on this. You are fast. I've just finished the cycle.
Just narrow it down. 30 seconds each.
Mheshimiwa Ruku.
You see, we have witnessed a situation where some leaders are using the community to negotiate for their own personal or to push their own personal agenda, personal grievances, which are not the grievances of the people of a certain region. For instance, in my constituency and in that region where I come from, Mount Kenya East, we don't have roads. Infrastructure is a problem. Water is a problem. Electricity connectivity is a problem. And this is a region which has been in power for many years. Kibaki was there, Uhuru Kenyatta was there, Jomo Kenyatta was there, but the number of kilometers tarmac in my constituency is 38 kilometers in an area of 771 square kilometers. If you go to Tharaka constituency, the same. Chuka Ngamba the same. If you go to Tigania, the same. So what we are saying is, please, we want our area to have water, to have electricity, to have
road infrastructure. And if you are using our numbers to negotiate for tenders and other favors, it is high time we dissociate ourselves from such kind of leaders.
Who is doing that?
We have seen in the past. If you look at what has happened in the past, we used to have Mount Kenya Foundation, very rich individuals who are always deep in government, who used to finance Mwai Kibaki, who used to finance all those who have held high position in this country. And once they are given senior positions, then it is deemed that Mount Kenya region is taken care of. Once they are given huge tenders, worthy of billions, it is deemed that Mount Kenya region is taken care of. Whereas the Mount Kenya people, especially those who don't have tea, coffee, macadamia, milk, because if you look at Mount Kenya East, three quarters of the people household in Mount Kenya East, we don't have milk, we don't have tea, we don't have those things. So what we are saying is, this kind of discussion we are seeing, it is nonsensical discussion.
Okay.
What we want some is road to be construction for our people, water to be connected for our people, electricity to be connected in the household of our people, irrigation project to be there for our people. Then once we see that, we can now say our region is well taken care of. But every single morning, every single day, talking about region this, region that, it is nonsensical.
Okay.
What matters to our people is infrastructure roads.
Right.
It is water connectivity. It is electricity.
That. You're repeating it for the second time.
But not the tenders. Not the senior appointment,
not more than
which does not trickle down to the common person
you know,
who
you're the
is
same
not
person
able
who
to pay
just
fees.
spoke a few minutes ago and said that the appointments for leaders who come from Nyanza region is actually uniting the country. I'm just wondering what has changed in that short time. Senator Ledama, in 30 seconds.
What are you saying, Sam?
Remarks. Exactly that.
No.
Senator, please.
Churchill, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is laughing in his grave right now. And if he was alive, he would be very happy because the seed that he planted in the colonial movement of home guards is thriving in this country. What the Deputy President was talking about is that you have to be very careful, you know, and I mean, I don't really agree with his policies and what, but in this one particular, it is imperative that unity, you know, when you go out there and you castigate your ethnic group or your community, it doesn't really augur very well. Because remember, your community is spread all across the nation. So I think what the Deputy President was saying there, which I support, is that as leaders we should measure our words. I want to add that not only when you're talking about your ethnic group, but when we are talking about the entire country. Let us try to stay away from this mentality of home guards. Because what my dear friend Kimani Ichung'wah is displaying is the characteristics and tendencies of a home guard in the colonial mindset. So we have to be very, very careful with that.
Mheshimiwa, closing.
Yeah, I'll just say that, you know, there's one common factor in Kenya Kwanza leaders, and that is the issue of doublespeak. They say Raila was a demon, now he's a saint because he's going to AU and they're supporting him. But then I just want to say that there's a myth of broad-based government. It's a serious myth that somehow by bringing in one community into government that the whole country has healed. Notice that the Kenya Kwanza administration, we had also got leaders from the Lower Eastern. And the first reshuffle of CSs, they demoted both the CSs from Lower Eastern. And the second time when they kicked out CSs, they only returned one from our region. If you're uniting Kenya, isn't Lower Eastern part of Kenya?
Interesting questions. Wow. Regions everyone wants to be in government. Mheshimiwa Sosson.
I think ethnic balkanization has been the biggest disease of this country. And one way or the other, it must be uprooted. Vision 2030, the political pillar, talk of running a brand of politics and Kenyans mounting the brand of politics that are issue-based politics. And I think that is slowly gaining root. And when the president opens up for a broad-based government that it can even invite senior leaders of other political parties to government. This is one bold step. And by we'll be seeing great results towards this. The feel-good of the people, where these ministers have been appointed and other senior leaders, and we can see the indicators. They're happy. They're appreciating. It's an opportunity for the president and other leaders to take advantage and then strengthen the economic development of this country and the political growth and at least national unity. And as I said earlier on, we cannot go out there to unite Africa before we can demonstrate that we can unite at home.
Okay.
The launch of Raila Odinga's AU seat at State House, which was bid at State House, which was witnessed by the president of East Africa, is no mean achievement. It's an achievement that is born out of these engagements. And therefore, I can say pragmatically from the background of unity, I think we are achieving significant steps in unity, which is the foundation of economic growth of this country. And that the president scores a straight grade A. Raila Odinga scores a straight grade A. Those who don't like it, they can look for a swimming pool and dive into it and sleep permanently. That's the truth.
So broad-based government is issue-based politics?
Yeah, of course. It's part of issue-based politics. If indeed... Gituku, why are you asking a very rhetoric question?
You have an answer.
The president said, I'm forming a broad-based government. You saw it. And maybe the process is still ongoing. And you have seen the appointment of ministers. And you have seen the reaction and the mood of the people. You have seen the engagement that the president has been able to engage in. And I've told you, the economic transformation that comes with it and many things are not an event. It's a process. We will see it. So the likes of people of Southeastern, the Ukambani, I know you. Yes, there is room. There is room for all of you. And
it was a straightforward question.
No, it's a straightforward question, but then you need some explanation.
Your answer is not straightforward.
Don't reduce it to an objective question. You brought us here to discuss.
Let's take a look at the responses from Kenya. So they are saying, as how you're saying that Kenya Kwanza leaders continue to underestimate the intelligence of Kenyans. They were quick to criticize Raila, yet now they are suddenly praising him as the best. It's time for us to see through these political inconsistencies and recognize the truth behind their actions. Engineer Lazaro, with the unexpected exit of Raila from local politics, what do you mean? With the expected exit of Raila from local politics, it seems Nyanza will approach next elections as battleground and decision maker. That's the reason of all current activities. Frank Orinde, the current political realignment is purely meant for the next general election and has nothing to do with what would otherwise benefit Wanjiku. The political class are back to factory settings, no oversight or legislative roles. It's time to unite to eat.
Yes.
Wow. Peter, we embrace unity in our country. Let the Honorable Ledama accept that they are in government. Our worry now is that opposition in Kenya has died. Remy Butia, you're saying temperatures have just started. Senator Ledama is not very happy. Temperatures have just started to rise, but it's still early to map out the nature of alliances that will be formed. The weaker presidential hopefuls will team up with the stronger ones. We can only look forward to interesting coalition names. Names indeed. Thank you so much, Senator Ledama Lekina, Mheshimiwa Geoffrey Ruku, Mheshimiwa Robert Mbui, and Mheshimiwa Wilson Sosel for making time for us. That's our time. Up next is a Sporty Monday. The team will be here to talk about the action of the weekend and what to look forward to in different sports, different sectors. Bye for now. My name is Sam Gituku. See you again soon.